Hey, so what's going on, everyone? So, not too long ago, I did an unboxing for Midnight Riders from Inkfeathers. One of the things that I mentioned is that this book features my poem Homecoming, and that this was the fifth time that my poem Homecoming has been published or featured. And I asked if people would like a history of the poem, and I got a unanimous yes. I even had some people tell me they wanted that before the unboxing of this video went up. So before I start showing off the books that Homecoming has appeared in, I thought I would talk to everyone about how the poem came to be. So Homecoming was written, I want to say, in 2014. One of the things that I'd been wanting to write about for a while was about someone who knew that their time in this world was coming to an end and what they would want to say before they pass. And two of the reasons I ended up writing this, part of it was the ending to Chronicles of Narnia, Voyage of the Dawn Treader. And on a personal level, around the time I had written that had been 10 years since my aunt had passed away. And between both of those, actually, I had the idea, like, I'm going to write something. And in 2014, I finally got to the point where I was like, I have something in mind. I know what I want to write. And the reason I named the poem Homecoming was there was a song on the radio. I don't remember the song. I'm not saying this is a rights issue or copyright claims or anything like that. I legit do not remember the name of the song. But it's about someone who has a family member who's getting ready to pass away. And the last words that person says to the singer of the song is, "Why are you crying? I'm going home." And that was what inspired me to name the poem Homecoming. So I wrote the poem in 2014. The poem was eventually released in March of 2016 in the first half of my seventh poetry book, Meta. The first half of the book is titled Meta the Brain, because those are poems that are not 100% personal, or they're even poems that aren't personal to me at all. Given that A Song on the Radio and Chronicles of Narnia were two of the inspirations behind the poem, I made the decision to have it be the closing poem in the first half of Meta. So March 2016, I put Meta the Brain up on digital services, and because I went a few years without releasing anything, I made the book free. So the first print release was in June of 2016 when Meta the Heart came out. Meta the Heart is the second half of my poetry book Meta. When I released both halves, that was when I released Meta Complete. To those that are fairly new to following me, this was the last book I wrote under my real name. I started using a pen name shortly after that. I'll talk about that in a future video. But this was the first release of Homecoming in a print book. This was also the first time I realized the connection Homecoming was having with other people. When the print release came out in June, I had someone ask me if they could read Homecoming at a funeral. I said, of course you can read it. You don't need my permission for something like that. It's a funeral. And when the person came back from the funeral, they told me they had the pastor who was there for the funeral read the poem because they weren't able to. And the pastor had to stop reading because he was starting to choke up reading it. Which part of me was happy that it was connecting with people, I'm not going to lie, but part of me also saw the impact it was already having. So when I started selling copies of the book to people I knew personally, I gave everyone a heads up. Be careful reading this poem. It is something that's been getting read at a funeral, and I've already been asked about it possibly being read at another funeral. And I had what has been referred to as the little red button complex. You tell someone not to push the little red button, they're going to push the little red button. I tell people, be careful on reading Homecoming. The first thing they do, open up the book and go to Homecoming. The second time with this book specifically where I realized that the impact Homecoming was having was when reviews started popping up. Normally with my poetry books that came out prior to Meta, everyone had a different favorite poem. I had one person say, hey, I like this poem from this book. I like this poem from this book. There was never a unanimous thing. If you go on Amazon and you look up the reviews for Meta, everyone that reviewed it will tell you that their favorite poem in this book is Homecoming. I've also had a couple of people do personal reviews on their Facebook or Twitter pages, and once again, if they have to name a standout poem, they're going to name Homecoming. So, first time it got published was 2016. The digital release was in March. The print release was in June. It is the closing poem to the first half of the book. And as I mentioned, the main reason it's the closing poem for the first half is because not all of the things that inspired me to write the poem were personal. Part of it was from a movie. I got the title from hearing a lyric in a song. So because of that, I felt it best to put it in the brain instead of the heart, even if one of the reasons was me writing it after thinking about the passing of my aunt. I felt there's non-personal things here, so because of that, I want to put it in the non-personal part. And to any of my family who is watching this later, that's why it's in that part. So I know most of you are going to be okay with it, but that's why, and for those that don't understand, I do apologize. So this was the first time Homecoming got released. And I will have a link in the description below for Meta. So the second time wasn't necessarily it getting published, it was me entering a contest. The second time was 2018. This was about a month after I'd released the follow-up to Meta, the Paradox Complex. So when I was promoting the Paradox Complex, I found a contest that was going on for Poetry Day. And I already knew I wanted to submit Flawed Masterpiece if it fit the rules. I said, hey, I want to submit something, but it's something that's already been published. Is that okay? And the people said, okay. So I submitted Flawed Masterpiece. And the people that run the website told me, hey, you know you can submit more than one poem, right? So in addition to submitting Flawed Masterpiece, I also submitted my poem, Death, My Immortality, another poem that's in the Paradox Complex. And I did ask, I said, hey, I've got some other stuff. How many poems do you want me to send? They said, send as many as you want. I didn't want to put everything from the Paradox Complex into one contest. So I went back and, well, everyone really liked Homecoming, so I'm going to submit Homecoming to this. Now on the website, you could see who all was viewing the poems, whether or not stuff was getting comments, so on and so forth. So I submitted 3 poems. I submitted Flawed Masterpiece and Death My Immortality, both from the Paradox Complex, and I submitted Homecoming. So shortly after the contest was over, I got an email. I won. I was like, yeah, awesome! And from seeing the views and the comments on my poems, I had assumed that Flawed Masterpiece was the winning poem. So I look at the email, I go to the website, and the winning poem was actually Homecoming. So even though Homecoming is an older poem, and I was really trying to push the Paradox Complex, I was still very, very thankful because it was still connecting with people. Not to mention this was an international website, and there is some religious background to Homecoming. So when you go into different cultures, there's different religions. So the fact that Homecoming was transcending that really meant a lot. And to the people that were behind selecting Homecoming as the winning poem, I very much appreciate that. The website that I submitted the poem to is Pennant. I will have their website in the description below for anyone who would like to check that out. So that was the second time that it was